Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Ka-Pow Comics Best of 2023. And we're moving on to one which, I'm not going to say it was like a shoo-in straight away to be in the top, but honestly, I was hooked on it when I first started hearing about it. Because the general thing they use for pitching, all against all, was, I'm going to paraphrase here, but it gets to the point quite effectively, what if the Predator, but he's a human in an alien zoo? And I'm like, yeah, right, yeah, I'm sold. Tell me that story. That sounds amazing. Thankfully, after just that very, very basic introduction, and I was already putting it on my pull list, I then realised who was creating it, and all of a sudden I was properly excited for it. So it has two talents which are generally worth talking about on their own, and this is my review channel, so I'm going to do that. Because we have on the art Casper Wingyard, and again I apologise if I mispronounced his name. I mean, I've only ever heard the word Casper in relation to the Friendly Ghost, and as the Good Place has told us, Casper Friendly Ghost is hella racist. So, he's fantastic. I think I first encountered him in a way that I remember distinctly his style was during the Peter Cameron Filderbot role with Kieran Gillen, which I've mostly picked up simply because Gillen doing a Watchmen spin-off sounded really, really good fun. And the fact they picked Wynyard to do the formalist nature of the artwork of this comic book, that intrigued the hell out of me, and he absolutely knocked it out of the park. Like, it's only a little limited miniseries, every single issue does its own thing artistically and formally, and every single bit of it is spectacular. But for all the other things I've seen him in, the one that stands out to me, the one that I recommend to people more than anything else he's been involved in, is when he worked with Dan Waters doing Homesick Pilots, which is a punk horror story about ghosts, haunted houses, and giant haunted mech haunted houses. It's a lot, but it's fantastic, and I don't think it'd be as effective if it wasn't for Wingard's absolute commitment to doing the most lushly coloured artwork I've seen in many a time. Now, that on its own would be enough. Again, I was sold just on the concept, but then you also pack Nadal into the mix. Now, he's not somebody who's as well known, which is fair enough. I mean, I only discovered him when I started reading some TKO stuff, which is really nice and progressive and subversive at the same time. And he did Red Fork, I think, which was a story of, I think, an Appalachian mining community having to cope with the horrors of both, like, literally underground eldritch horror and also capitalism. And one of those things is what Appalachian miners generally have to deal with anyway. And I've read other stuff from him. I think Red Goblin is one of the more recent ones he's done. And even though I can't say I'm a big fan of the symbiote stuff that Marvel do with the Spider-Man characters, I will pick stuff like that up if it's written by people I admire. Hence, I've picked up some Al Ewing and some Ram V stuff using the same kind of characters. But the Panadol stuff does stay with me. He did something like really, really bold with the relationship between the human and the symbiote, which I don't think I've ever seen done, or at least done anywhere near as well. But much in the way, the Casper Wingyard's thing, which I love more than anything else, and I'll keep recommending to everyone, is Homesick Pilots. The thing when it comes to Pac Nadal I will recommend to literally everyone is this. Because it goes like a bit above and beyond in ways that I really, really admire. Because the story itself isn't that complicated. You can read it as an anti-war allegory, and it'd be very, very easy to do that. It looks at a generational trauma inflicted by wars. It looks at the evils of the industrial war machine, and the economic war machine at that as well. And it looks at damage done to people on both sides, and the environment that the wars are fought in. All these things are 100% there, and it feels like Pac Nadal could do that kind of story in his sleep, and certainly, if he did a really, really good job at it. But no, there's one thing he does which goes just above and beyond, and I love him for it. And when I say that, I don't just mean like I love him as a writer. I mean, if he's ever at a convention that I'm going to and I can get there, I'm buying him flowers. Genuinely love his writing. And when I say that, I want to be absolutely clear that there is a difference between the writing of the story arc as an overall kind of thing. The thing that you're going to be working with Wingard on to do stuff like layouts and set pieces and plotting and timing and all these things, which he is fabulous at. I do not want to take that away from him in any way, shape or form. But the thing that elevates it, the thing that put this on my best of the year list, when I think I was only 2 issues in, I was already like, yes, 100% you're going on this list, is the actual words on the page. The dialogue he puts down. And I've spoken about this before. Usually referencing Bram V, he's like one of my favourite writers, and he does this with such charm and panache, it looks almost effortless when he does it. Pac Nadal does it here, and with the same kind of style, which is this understanding that the written word isn't just a tool for communication or communicating just ideas. You can use it to transcend the idea to the idea behind it. You can look at it as an existential communication. You can look at it as an emotional communication. yes, there is non-verbal communication, and art can do stuff without really relying on language whatsoever, but that does not take away the fact that language can do these things. But to do it, you need to really, really know what you're doing. I am, at best, an amateur fan of poetry. I have enjoyed some in the past, and because when I find something I enjoy, I kind of like looking under the hood a little bit and seeing how it comes together. So I've read a couple of books on poetry, and as such, although I never attempted to write any, or at least not any that I'd share with anyone, I understand how you use like rhythm and meter, and how you can apply cadence, and where you put stresses and matters, and how you break down ideas into structural parts of a conversation. All of this comes to light in early issues of this comic book, where even just scientific explanations of things read like poems. And I just stop, put the book down, give myself a moment, pick it back up and read it out loud, because that's what you need to do with poetry. You need to let it live in you and on your tongue. You need to enjoy every element of it. And Panadol's work before this, fantastic, love it. I've recommended Red Fork to a bunch of people. TKO really, really do their best when it comes to getting fantastic talent to do stuff. And Red Goblin, fantastic, one of the best symbiote stories I've read in a while. Both of those are excellent, but this is the best, I think. And I would like to think that once he's now finished playing in the Symbiote Sandbox, the next thing he's going to do, I hope, that I get to fall in love with it all over again, will be something else where it's his work, where he can put his own spin on it, where he can actually do things with language that move beyond just telling the story, but like getting into why the story exists and what we... I was about to say what we're supposed to feel about it. That kind of flies in the face of it. More give you a chance to examine why you feel certain things about it. Here's where I'm like, yeah, I'm not a writer. Pat Nadal will be able to explain this really effectively. But on top of all that, I've kind of glossed over a little bit of Wingard. I'm mainly talking about his previous work. But because of the worlds, because of the worlds that he has created in this comic book, with the lush colours and the alien landscapes and the wonderful characters, Wingard deserves a hell of a lot of praise as well. The action sequences are genuinely outstanding. He has absolutely no fear about using negative space and using it effectively, but then when he just does lashings of colour and the wonderful smooth lines of his character design and his world design, it's spectacular. From start to finish, it is an event. And I think that's probably the best way to look at it if you want to get into people's hands. It's how I've done it when I wanted to sell a comic to people. Here's this really cool thing, Predator, but imagine human in an alien zoo. And then they get to read it and understand why I recommended it to them. Because I never really had the chance to get that much into the detail of why I want people to read some comic books. I'm hoping if anyone's watching this, they'll now understand this and go to their local comic book store and buy a copy of this book and then tell all their friends about how amazing it is. I have nothing but praise for it. Excuse me. I've had a cold for a few days, I've still got a little bit of a tickly cough. And I really, really had to be kind of brutal in how I was approaching it, because I think in other years with other things in my top 10, this could have been a little bit higher. But as I've said before, the granular nature of the quality of my top 10 and how close they all are to each other, sometimes you have to pick reasons why one will be higher than another. And I think if anyone wants to criticise this one because it's only like at the mid-table of the top 10, then they're not understanding how good it actually is once they sit down and read it. It is probably even better than I'm getting across to you, and I really hope you give it a shot. That's it for me right now, though, because my throat is really tickly, and I don't want to keep coughing on you. So I'll be back later on with another review as the countdown continues. Until then, look after each other, everyone. Stay safe. Bye!